Does anybody still want to disagree with me that the Pittsburgh Penguins are done? I remember I had an old channel. I never really worked on it that much, but I made this video. I remember when the Pittsburgh Penguins got Carlson, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, sometimes you just need to say, okay, it's done. It's over. It's done. Let's just move on with it. So I'm going to go over a couple of things in this video. But, like, first off, the Penguins are done. Like, whoever, like, please jump in the comments and debate me. Like, how can you possibly disagree with me? I'm not going to be right on everything, but I'm right on that. And they are done. They are old. They are aging, and they're done. Now, I want to talk about legacy for a minute about Crosby. Just legacy. Just his legacy, right? So there's a lot of, in my opinion, misdirection that will go with this. And people will say, like, it will... Some people, like my buddy said this to me, like, quote, it will ruin his legacy. Okay. Now, maybe they're right about that. I've just tried to put myself in position as a Leaf fan, like, and say, let's say Austin Matthews had won 3 cups for the Leafs. Oh my gosh, can you admit that? Can you believe that? And right now, they were clearly a bad team. Like, they weren't going to do anything. What would you want them to do as a Leaf fan, or whatever fan of a team? Let's say Montreal, Line, whatever the star of your team is, and they're a star player. I personally would want them to move on. Like, I would want them to gain assets for the team and start the rebuild. If you, like, right? Like, how can you possibly say it? So it's the idea, and I was debating my friend on this. We were having a beer, and I was debating him on this. I was like, it's not going to ruin his legacy, man. Like, if your team is bad, they're just bad. That's it. Like, it's not. Now, here's the thing. What would ruin his... I mean, what would be great for Sidney Crosby's legacy? Now, he just re-upped with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know I'm just spouting out right now. I know he's probably not going to get traded, but it's just like, if he actually got assets, which, by the way, he could still get a bunch of assets. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, he could get a lot from a team that is, you know... Can you imagine him on Colorado? Oh my gosh! You know, it would be Cup champions or the Dallas Stars. Can you imagine him on the Dallas Stars? Oh my gosh! I think the Stars are going to win the Cup this year. By the way, 10-5, great team. That's just my opinion, though. But again, it just is what it is. He's done. The Pittsburgh Penguins deserve to get assets back. Their fans deserve to get assets back. I understand we talk about these players like they're, you know, assets, but I mean, it's true. I mean, it's just like, if your team is this bad, you just gotta move on, man. Like, I remember, this reminds me of when the Leafs had all those no trade clauses with Sundin. And the whole time, I remember Leaf fans were, like, clamoring, being like, can we move on from this? Can we stop pretending that we're gonna be a competitive team here? Like, and he eventually went to Vancouver, but the Leafs didn't get any assets for him, which is so annoying, right? It would have helped us with the rebuild, man. Honestly, it would be huge for the legacy of the Penguins. Fans would love it. Let's say if you get a top prospect and a first round pick, like a really solid young player, to say, okay, we'll give you Crosby. We want a legit, like a legit top player. He could probably get that. You know, Malkin's still a really good player. You could get that. And these guys could be not the centerpieces of whatever team they get traded to, but they could be legit players. Now, I know I'm going on about, like, a potential trade too much. It's just done in Pittsburgh, man. And doing this to Sid the Kid sucks. You know, whenever something horrible happens to a team, like they get scored on or some like huge comeback or something like that, and the camera always pans over to the player's faces. They just look like they want to die. It's like that, dude. Every time you just see poor Sidney Crosby, like, here's the thing. I remember when I was a younger man, a long while ago, I would hate Sidney Crosby. Like, I would hate him. Like, I was almost like a Flyers fan, because if you're a Flyers fan listening to this, you're gonna, you guys loathe Sidney Crosby for whatever. I mean, obviously, I get it, rivalry or whatever. He hates the Flyers too, right? And I used to hate him. And I remember the biggest thing that changed my opinion on Crosby was him scoring that golden goal. Me and my dad, I'll never have a bad opinion about Sidney Crosby once he scored that golden goal for Canada. Right off the boards, Iginla to Crosby, boom, back of the net. Gino, like, you know, what a legend. Anyways, I'm kind of going off right now, but he's the man. And and here's the thing, when you go on social media, rightfully so, even Paul Bissonnette the other day was saying, can we get Crosby? Because you feel bad for the guy. Like, you know how, look, man, he literally took a discount again, 8.7. Like, I'm sorry, yes, he's starting to slow down. Like, I think he only had like 17 points in 18 games last time I look, and I picked him for my fantasy team too, which kind of sucks. But you know, he's slowing down a tiny bit. But I mean, he's gonna play until he's like 42. You know, it's Sidney Crosby. He loves the game. The guy's built like a fire hydrant. So yeah, it's time to move on here. It's time to move on. I really honestly want to hear, if you are a Pittsburgh fan, please jump up in the comments and say, tell me what's the point in playing this charade? Like, I honestly don't get why we constantly have to play this charade of, oh no, we're still good. Now, I will say one thing about rebuilds, and this is what I've criticized before, just rebuilds in general, is that you want to tank out, but you don't want to try to be bad always. Now, I know that's kind of contradicting, but sometimes if you tank out for a long time, dude, you can always be an irrelevant franchise. So you have to be careful with that. Like, look at the Sabres, dude. Like, they just never make the playoffs. They just never make the playoffs, right? And it's now, you know, it's just like, once you get stuck as a non-playoff team for a while, it can be difficult. So I understand why people might not want to do that, and I understand how much it sucks to watch your team not even be competitive. Like, yes, obviously the Leafs like don't really do much in the playoffs, but at least they're like mildly competitive, in which that I can, you know, look at them and say, well, you know, they'll probably get bounced in the first round, but maybe not. Anyways, this is just my opinion on Crosby. I feel bad for Crosby. They need to get him out of there. I also think it would not ruin his legacy if he does the right thing. That's just my opinion, because obviously his legacy is going to be important to him. Anyways, I am going to leave the video there. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would appreciate that, guys, and have a great day. Goodbye.